Hey Aces, welcome back to the channel. Breaking news, breaking news. Donald Trump has been indicted on 34 counts. Okay, 34 counts today. Wow. This is a historical moment because no US president, current or former, has ever been indicted on criminal charges in the span of US history. Okay. So, with that being said, not all of the 34 counts are felonies, some are misdemeanors, but basically that's for falsifying documents. And we know that, him paying that $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, the adult film star, also plays a huge role in his indictment. So they haven't specifically formalized the charges yet, but the grand jury has voted to move forward with the indictment. And it looks like Donald Trump may be going to jail as soon as next week. So he put out this statement today after his indictment. And just basically, he's saying that, it's a witch hunt and the American people are going to, blow back against Joe Biden and just pretty much the similar, things that he would do in the past as far as deflection and projection of his own guilt onto his political opponents. So, I mean, it's really nothing new because the grand jury has moved forward to indict him. So yeah, I just wanted to include that in there because every single thing that presidents write become a part of our national record. So they have to go into the archives. But there's a few texts that I found interesting that he's written in the past few days on his you know social media account Truth Social, since he got banned from Twitter a few years back. So right before the grand jury decided to indict him, he writes this. He says, "I have gained such respect for this grand jury, perhaps even the grand jury system as a whole. The evidence is so overwhelming in my favor, so ridiculously bad for the highly partisan and hateful district attorney, that the grand jury is saying, hold on, we are not a rubber stamp, which most grand juries are branded as being. We're not going to vote against a preponderance of evidence or against large numbers of legal scholars all saying there is no case here. Drop this sick witch hunt now." Okay. And then he, tweets out that now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan district attorney's office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime. His, allegedly, whose leader is funded by George Soros. So that's what he's saying. Alvin Bragg, who is the district attorney who's leading the charge, he's saying that he's being funded by George Soros, which obviously is not true, but he's been touting that lie. A lot of people on the right have been touting that lie for a very long time. Indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back. So this is what he wrote last week when he thought that he was going to be arrested and the past Tuesday, and people were, kind of like, well, what's going on? Because he was the former president. So he, is privy to a lot of information that regular Americans just don't know. Up to, even the classified documents that he brought illegally to Mar-a-Lago that the FBI found during the raid, which is another thing that he has been investigated for. I don't know how far that one's going to go, just because after that, they found, documents like everywhere. Joe Biden had some, Mike Pence, they found, some classified documents. I think the only one who didn't have them was Barack Obama, because, Michelle was not playing that, like being the first Black, first family, the president and first lady, they had to do everything by the book. Like they crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's. So I think they were the only ones in the recent presidents and vice presidents that they didn't have any. I don't think Kamala Harris had any either for that specific reason. But anyway, so going back to what he's saying here, I don't know if that was just his own paranoia or somebody gave him some false information, but he thought that he was going to be arrested last Tuesday. So, he's been just extremely paranoid and going on these rants, even more so on Truth Social than he has been in the past. Like they're all, capitalized and going so forth, just rambling on, right? Really scared because again, 34, I thought it was just, I'd only heard about like 4 or 5. I think it was like the Stormy Daniels payout, which Michael Cohen actually went to prison for. It was $130,000. The Mar-a-Lago classified documents, the falsification of his business taxes, which is what he actually is being investigated for, the falsified documents. And it was a couple others, but it turns out, because I couldn't keep track, and that's where our good friend District Attorney Alvin Bragg and his team are for, right? So they actually found that it was 34. And the criminal cases, how they are, prosecuted in Manhattan is there's a grand jury which decides whether or not there's, probable cause. And if there's probable cause, which they voted that there was, then they move forward with the indictment. So Donald Trump is the suspect here, and he is being formally charged with the crime. And then after the indictment comes the arrest. So the judge issues a warrant, and the suspect is taken into custody, where typically a mugshot and a fingerprint is going to be taken. And I've heard that he will, have a mugshot and a fingerprint. I don't know if he's going to be perp walked. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't think that he will be perp walked just because he was once a former president, but he will have a mugshot and a fingerprint, which, all this is unprecedented. This is like historical. Okay. But after the arrest comes the arraignment, which the defendant appears in court to hear charges and enter a plea. Then the pretrial hearings, the defendant is either jailed or released on their own recognizance while hearings take place. And then there's a trial. It could, either the case can be dismissed or the case, proceeds forward. And then he has to plead guilty or not guilty. And that depends on, whether he's found guilty or not guilty, and then the sentencing. So as you guys know, I will definitely keep you updated. But right now, we're at step 2. The grand jury has decided to move forward. They're like, no, we're not going to throw it out, because I don't know if you guys remember, Donald Trump said a long time ago, back when he was, I think this was around the time he was like, when he was trying to convict the Central Park 5 wrongfully, even though he knew that they didn't do anything wrong, they were innocent. He said, I can stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and, not lose a single, I think this is when he was first running for president, because he's ran several times before he won. But he was like, if I, shot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, I wouldn't lose a single voter. He's very braggadocious like that. Well, the state of New York said, you're going to learn today. So, and the crime of falsifying business records can be committed in either the second degree. This is the New York Penal Code that I'm reading you guys, which is a Class A misdemeanor, or in the first degree, which is a Class E felony. So that depends upon, the legal system and, again, the prosecutor and the grand jury, how they decided. But 34 was a lot more than I thought. I was thinking, or I'd only heard of 5 or 6, but they definitely did their due diligence. Then this is what he put out today, right after his indictment. He said, these thugs and radical left monsters have just, well, he said indicated, but he meant indicted. Indicated the 45th president of the United States of America and the leading Republican candidate by far for the 2024 nomination for president. This is an attack on our country, the likes of which never been seen before. It is likewise a continuing attack on our once free and fair elections, the USA is now a third world nation, a nation in serious decline. So sad. I'm so proud to be an American today, and I'm so proud of Alvin Bragg and his whole team, Letitia James, New York, and everybody in the grand jury who decided that no one, like he used to say all the time, no one is above the law, to hold him responsible and accountable. And as always, I will keep you guys updated. Please like, share, and subscribe for all the updates. And drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you later, Aces. Take care. And y'all stay out of trouble. Bye.